All right, well, hello, welcome everybody. My name is John. This is Soft Flow. And just a little bit before we start, I'm not sure everyone knows some of the background of this class and how it originated and what's the foundation of this class. So I'll just briefly talk about that. I mean, I have talked about how we move in this class very slowly. We take our time and, and working not at 100%, but maybe working at 60% when you're working through poses. So that really is consistent in the practice as well. But a little bit more about that and why I even do that for this class. And this class, I've been teaching this class for a number of years, and it took some time to kind of structure it and figure out, what am I doing with this class? What's my main intention? And so the intention of the class is based on a yoga principle, and that yoga principle is called Ahimsa, Ahimsa. And you may have heard that word, and it's actually the first yoga principle. There's 10 principles in yoga, and that's the very first one, Ahimsa, which means non-violence, non-violence. And I thought that'd be very appropriate to talk about and really integrate in our practice today. But one way that I kind of reinterpret or reframe that word or that term, nonviolence, is love, kindness, and gentleness. And that is first geared towards or focused on self. So loving, being kind, and being gentle first to yourself. And when you do that and treat yourself with that kindness and that love and that gentleness, it turns into an outward expression. And so when it's first directed this way, then it directs outward. And so I just wanted to remind people of that premise, Ahimsa, and how we use it here in this practice. That's why I like to use a lot of props. Just to take care of yourself. You're being kind to yourself by using some cushions, blankets, and blocks, and other materials to feel comfortable and feel good. That's why we move a little bit more slowly, not push ourselves, not force ourselves, but really take care. And so that's the foundation of this practice, and that kind of relates to all of my soft flow practices. And then I'll layer on top of that today, and just thinking about kindness towards self, I thought we'd do some very gentle heart openers, meaning gentle back bends. I just have two back bends that we'll be practicing today, and really thinking about just opening up our hearts. But really thinking of that, when we open our hearts, the love is first streaming inward towards self before we extend it outward. So if you happen to have a bolster, something like this, or even just like a big pillow or a towel or blankets that you can wrap up, something that's kind of big like this, because that will be used for our one of our poses today, particularly one of our back bends. And then if you've got a couple of blocks, I've got two here, and then a blanket. I'm actually sitting on my blanket, or in any other prop that you want to use. So with all of that, let's go ahead and begin our practice. So just sit up nice and tall, or just sit comfortably, really, wherever you are, whether it's on a cushion or on your couch or on the floor, up against a wall. Maybe your legs are crossed, or maybe your legs are extended. And feel free to close your eyes or just soften your eyes for a moment, so you can tune into your breath. This is our first step inward, our journey inward. Paying attention to what's going on inside of you. And for a moment, just letting go of the things that are going on outside of you. Slow, steady breaths. I like just to call this our breathing meditation. Just to tune in, to be more present, more aware. And let's just bring a little bit more energy to the breath. All you need to do is just breathe a little slower. Maybe a nice long breath in. That breath in to perhaps fill up your lungs, followed by a slow and controlled exhale. Just mindful breathing. So again, as you breathe in, you might feel this breath rising upward to fill up your lungs, even a lengthening in your spine. And exhale. These next few times as you're taking these slow, deep breaths, not only feeling your lungs expand with air, but even thinking about or even feeling your heart expand, opening upward. Take 3 more breaths. We'll add a very simple movement. Now our moving meditation. Whenever you're ready, and inhale to extend your arms out and up. Just reach into the air. Nice stretch upward. Nice full breath in. Exhale, extending your arms out. And with that exhale, allow your arms to float back down by your side. So very simple. Again, an inhale to extend your arms out and up, reaching. Good sensation. Exhale, reaching outward and downward. And just continue to breathe and move at your own pace. Really just follow the pace of your own breath. You might be breathing maybe a little slower than I am or a little faster than I am. Whatever your pace is, just notice it and follow it. Just notice the sensations in your body, particularly your arms, your hands, maybe even your fingers. The good effort of extending and reaching, like a stretch. We exhale, bringing the arms back down. Go ahead and finish the breath that you're on right now and take 2 more breaths. When you finish your second breath, you can just bring your arms down by your side or just let them rest in your lap. Let everything relax, especially your shoulders and neck. And just take a breath or 2 back in stillness. From here, just bring your hands behind you and just gently lean back into your hands. And as you bring the hands behind you, maybe feel the shoulders just pull back gently, just so that there's this minor opening of the heart. So this is one of our heart openers, just really to gear into this spaciousness in the heart. We're going to tip the chin upward. And when we inhale, just press your hands into your mat, feel the chest rise. Take that full breath in to fill up your lungs. Deep breath in, feel that expansiveness in your lungs and heart. And exhale, draw your navel inward towards your spine, and maybe a little squeeze of your shoulder blades together behind you. So we're just adding a little bit more sensation and awareness to the body. So again, just breathing on your own, you'll breathe in to feel the breath rise. Fill up your lungs and heart. Exhaling, and that little squeeze of the shoulder blades, engaging your upper back muscles, draw navel inward towards your spine to engage your abdominal muscles. And just take 2 more breaths like this. And after your second breath, you can lower your chin and maybe walk your hands towards yourself just so you can sit up nice and tall. Go ahead and extend your arms out and up. Once again, reaching upward, really just help re-extend your spine. Then exhale, bring your arms back down by your side. And again, you can just let your arms rest by your side or in your lap again. letting everything relax. And notice that shift, notice that change in the body with all that effort of breathing and moving, and then settling into that stillness and relaxation. Since that was our back bend, let's take a gentle forward fold. Now this one will change our leg posturing. Instead of our legs crossed, we'll uncross and bring the soles of the feet together. And the knees will be out and open like so. Now you can draw the heels in closely, only if that feels okay in your knees. This is a pretty deep knee bend, but if that feels too much, like it's too much sensation, maybe slide the feet forward so there's less of a bend in the knees. And if you want, maybe your blocks or just any other props or objects here, just so your legs can actually rest on something on either side of you here for a little bit more comfort and ease. And then just hold on to your legs somewhere, maybe your shins or ankles, and you'll inhale just to sit up nice and tall. And your exhale, let's connect to center, draw navel to spine, and start to hinge from your hips, leaning forward, leading with your heart and chin just a little bit. So we're not going too far at first. And this is that portion of our practice when we're not moving too quickly, we're taking very small movements. The thing that is big and pronounced is the breath. So inhale here to fully extend the spine, fill up your lungs. Exhale to engage your belly, and then hinging forward just a little bit more. Very small movements. Now you're welcome to pause at any point. Remember, you can work at 60%, maybe even less than that. Maybe you want to go maybe to 70%, so maybe we'll go a little deeper. Again, not forcing or pushing the body. This is all, again, going towards that intention of being kind to yourself. We're not pushing, we're not forcing, we're not trying to go too fast. This way, the body responds to the movements that we're doing rather than reacts to the movements that we're doing. Responding is more like the body listening and paying attention and saying, oh, I understand what we're doing, and I'll guide you and support you as you move into the posture. That's a response. Reaction is kind of that surprise or that jolt or that, that sensation of, that element of surprise. We don't want to shock the body in that way. Let's just take 2 more breaths in this forward fold. And just notice where you might be feeling these sensations. Maybe your inner thighs for a stretch. Maybe the back is slightly rounded, so there's a little stretch in the back. If the back did round a little bit, to help re-extend the spine, just lift your chin, helping to extend through the neck and spine. And then hinge from your hips to rise back up until you're nice and tall in your seat. Hold here for a moment, finding stillness and taking a breath or 2. All right, if you're using blocks, we'll just set those to the side. We're going to come to our hands and knees. And here's where you can use another prop, like a blanket, to help pad and protect your joints, your wrists, your knees. If you want that extra padding, maybe even if you don't have a blanket, you can even just fold your mat underneath you. So we're going to start in this tabletop posture, just cat and cow. So we're going to inhale and lift head and heart, arching the back just a little bit here, not too much. Exhale, we'll round it all out. So I'll describe what's happening here. As you inhale, just look forward, let your chest open upward. Your back will arch like a back bend, the pelvis tips backward. Then as you exhale, we'll tuck the tailbone underneath, rounding through the spine. Belly button pulls up towards chest and chin towards your chest here. Inhale, looking up, looking forward, arching the back. That's cow pose. Exhale, round it all out into cat. And just continue that a few more times. Just this nice gentle flow, just to get some movement through the pelvis, nice undulation of the back body. And if you exhale in the cat pose and really pull the belly button up towards spine, get a nice core energy there. Finish the breath that you're on and take 2 more. And after your second breath, no rush, just come back to a neutral tabletop posture. Just hold here for a moment. If you were using some padding, let's crawl off that pad and just set it to the side and just return to hands and knees, and we'll get set up for our next pose. So here on hands and knees, just moving into our downward facing dog. What you'll do first is you'll just step your hands forward a little bit. So your hands, your wrists are no longer underneath your shoulders. So something like this. You want to spread out your fingers pretty wide so you get a stretch between each finger. And a nice press into your mat to flatten your palm. Get a nice stretch through your palms. And also as you press, feel the energy in your arms right up to your shoulders and chest. Hold that dynamic. Curl your toes behind you or just tuck your toes. Let's inhale and look for a little kind of a minor cow pose, that minor back bend. Exhale, round it into cat pose. Hold cat for a second. Then lift your knees off of your mat, send your hips up into the air. That should guide you into a downward facing dog. You might need to make a few adjustments. I'm going to tiptoe forward a little bit. And if you can, even keep a good bend in the knees and continue to send your hips up and away to the wall behind you, perhaps. Meanwhile, your hands are pressing firmly and strongly into the ground. Take a moment to relax your head. And to do so, really you're just kind of looking at your toes. Just look down at your toes. That will relax your neck. Coming out of the posture, look at the space between your hands and just take a few steps, as many steps as you need to, up to your hands. Now this will round your back. You might need to rise up into your fingertips so you get your feet underneath you at the top of the mat. Deep forward fold with knees bent. We're going to inhale and slide the hands up to the knees or thighs to extend the spine. So nice and long and flat right here. And exhale, fold. Even a partial fold. I'm going to do a partial fold, which means I'm not going to fold all the way. I'm just partially down. My hands are at my shins, but I do still feel this in the hamstrings and my low back, which feels good. I'm even going to shake my head out a little bit, releasing any tension in the neck. And from here, ready to stand, taking our time, lean back or shift your weight back into your heels. Bend your knees, allowing your hips to drop like you're going to sit down in a very low chair. Look forward to help extend your spine and spread your wings. Take your arms out to the side and then press feet into the floor to straighten your legs as you stand up tall. Reach up into the air. Big stretch there. Then exhale, bring your hands together and down to your heart. Let's just pause here for a moment. Now we've made it to our first standing position, mountain pose. Take a few breaths. With your hands at heart, since we're thinking about and focusing on opening our hearts, maybe take this moment to create an intention, if you haven't already, something mindful and aware of your heart space. Maybe what your heart is needing at this moment, how your heart needs to be filled at this time. I'm just going to go through our half salute once again. Moving when you're ready to move, never a rush. Inhale, extend your arms into the air. Nice effort as you reach towards the ceiling. Exhale, let's fold forward. So we'll get hinge from your hips. Bend your knees as much as you need to. Coming down, again, that partial fold is just fine, or you might bend your knees a bit more so you can touch your toes if you'd like. Then inhale, slide your hands up to your knees or your thighs and extend your spine so you're a table-like feeling. Exhale, back down to a forward fold. Well, again, we'll pause here for a moment. Feel free to shake out your shoulders or big circles with your shoulders if you'd like. A little shake of the head and neck. There's some significance to a forward fold. It's a bowing position. It's an honoring posture. When we honor something or someone, we bow. And so really think of this as a bowing to yourself.
Another way to fill your heart, and it's just honoring yourself. So a nice deep honoring of your whole being. Let's go ahead and roll back into the heels, bend your knees, let the hips drop a little, look forward to extend spine, spread your wings, and inhale so you can stand up tall, reach again towards the ceiling. Exhale, bring your palms together and down to your heart. Let's just do a very simple movement here. Let me explain what you can do with this simple movement. We're just going to take the arms down. Let's go ahead and do that now. Just bring your arms down by your side. And even take a moment thinking about, what it is that my heart needs. What it is that your heart needs at this moment. And what we'll do is, as we inhale, we'll sweep the arms slowly up into the air, and even imagine you're gathering up all that you're needing for your heart, all that energy, all that love, all that's needed for your heart space. And honor it to the sky, but then bring it right down into your heart space. Let's just do that 2 times. You're just going to inhale slowly, reaching out, gathering all that you're needing energetically, reaching up for the sky, and bring the palms together, exhaling as you bring your hands and all that good energy and love right down into your own heart. Do that 1 more time. We'll just bring the arms down by your side, sweep the arms out and up, reaching, gathering, honoring sky, honoring self, right down to your heart. And just hold for a moment. We'll continue with our flow, just adding on to our sequence, taking our time. That's really our intention today, taking care of self. Here we go. Inhale, extend your arms into the sky. Another big stretch, moving at your own pace. Exhale, hinging at your hips. Bend your knees, fold forward. Take your time. Maybe touching toes, but never need to. Inhale, slide your hands up to your knees or thighs. Feel the top of your head lead you forward. Now on this exhale, take it slowly. Bend your knees enough. Your back will round until you can bring your palms right down to your mat. Lean into your hands so you can start walking or stepping both of your feet back until you're in plank pose, here at the top of your push-up. Just hold for a moment. We'll just use this as a nice strength building posture. Let's take a breath in. As you exhale, bend your knees a little, send your hips into the air, or return to downward facing dog. And some adjustments if you need to with a little tiptoe forward. All right, let's move into some lunges. I'll guide you through. We're going to inhale, extend your right leg up into the air. It doesn't have to lift high. It's nice and long and energetically reaching. As you exhale, bend that right knee. Bring it in underneath you towards your chest, shifting your body weight forward until your shoulders are over your wrists and setting the foot down between the hands. Now that's a slow motion, and you probably didn't get the foot between the hands because I didn't. Set your left knee onto the floor if that was the case. Pick up your right foot and just place it up next to that hand. Go ahead and relift that back knee. Now, if your weight is shifted forward like mine is, we're shifting the weight back. Really just moving your hips. Feel your hips move back to the back edge of your mat. And see if there's less weight in your fingers or your hands. So you can literally rise up to your fingertips like this. And use this as a way to extend your spine. Create a nice anchor with the left heel, pushing back or down towards the floor. Taking your time, bring both hands up to your thigh, lifting yourself up like this until we're at a 45-degree angle. And keeping this nice energy of the torso nice and long as you are moving in this direction. Wherever the crown of your head is pointing, that's where you're moving. And that back heel is keeping you anchored. Squeeze your inner thighs towards each other. Pull your belly in for security. Let's sweep the arms out like wings. Reach up into the air as we now grow tall, perpendicular to the floor, reaching up as we now exhale and lunge a little deeper. Hold for a moment. You're going to keep this lunge, but bring your arms down and maybe down to your hips, right here. Use your hands and feel like you're pushing your pelvis down towards the floor. And as you do that with your hands, feel your upper body lift up a little bit. Roll the shoulders back, squeezing shoulder blades together. Bend your left knee quite a bit like you're about to kneel down. You're going to really feel that in your left quad. And then tip your chin up a little bit. And we're just creating a very mild back bend in this lunge posture. Doesn't have to be too forced or too strong. Let's release. We're going to inhale, sweep the arms back up into the air. You might lift up a little bit and then pivot or turn that left heel to the floor. You'll turn sideways and bring your arms down to parallel. That should bring you to warrior two. Let's just check in with our balance and our stance here. You can look down at your feet. Make sure your right knee and your toes are pointing directly forward. Nice outstretched arms. Let's reach out over the right leg here, angled upper body like so, and then rotate the arms. And we're now in a side angle pose. So your right hand will come down and your left hand is up into the air. That's it. Just a couple of breaths as we just feel more expansion and opening of the body. It's a pretty significant hip opener, but because the arms are out wide, we can even think of this as a heart opener too. Let's breathe in, and our exhale, we're gonna slowly turn towards the floor. Carefully bend so you can bring the hands down to the mat. Rise up onto your tiptoes behind you. Press hands firmly into the floor, strong hands and arms. Even lift your hips up if you can, so you can release some of the weight from your right foot and slide it back until you're in plank pose, or just step it back. Hold for a second here. Inhale. And then as you exhale, bend your knees to send your hips into the sky. Once again, downward facing dog. Make some adjustments. So that same slow series on the other side. Inhale, extend your left leg up into the air. Reach nice and long. As you exhale, bend this left knee. Bring it in underneath you, shifting your body weight forward, shoulders over your wrists, setting the foot down between the hands or just down onto your mat. If you need to, set the right knee onto the ground so you can pick up the left foot and just step it up a little higher. Relift that right knee. Start shifting the weight back so your hips are moving to the back edge of your mat until there's no weight on the hands. You can easily rise to fingertips, allowing you to extend your spine. Hold for a moment. Activate that back leg by pushing back through your heel to create an anchor. Bring both hands up to your thigh, lift up just a little until we're at 45 degrees, lengthening through the whole spine, still very activated in that back foot. Let's squeeze to inner thighs to engage and hold. Navel pulls in towards spine. Sweep your arms out to the side, rise up, reach up. This is a high lunge. And as you exhale, just lunge a little deeper. Just hold for a second or two. Make sure you're still squeezing to inner thighs. That will help with balance. Now we're going to bring the arms down to your hips and we'll continue with this little back bend. Now, you're already in a back bend, really, in this posture because of that back leg. We're just going to give it a little bit more. Use your hands to push the pelvis down. Feel your torso and spine lift up. Roll the shoulders back to open the heart. Tip your chin up a little. Bend the right knee. That just makes a little bit more space in the low back. And if you can, just tip the chest upward a little bit. It's like you're leaning back a tiny bit. We're not moving very far into this pose, but we certainly don't need to. Couple of breaths. Ready to come out of the posture. Let's go ahead and bring the arms out and up into the air. Inhale. Lift up a little bit so you can easily pivot or turn right heel to the floor, turning sideways. Arms come down to parallel. Warrior two. Left knee is lunging. Nice bend. Good outstretched arms. Now let's follow the left arm forward. Out over that left leg. Angled upper body. Rotate the arms here. Reaching up, reaching down. You don't have to touch the ground at all for this. Wherever you are, you're probably getting a nice inner thigh release and stretch. With the arms extended, a nice heart opener too. Let's breathe in. And our exhale will carefully turn towards the floor, bending enough to bring the palms to the mat again. Rise up onto tiptoes behind you. Press firmly into the ground with the hands. See if you can lift your hips so there's less weight in the left foot to slide it back into plank pose. Hold. Couple more breaths just for a little added strength. Now we're going to bring knees to the floor. We're going to sit back briefly in hero pose. And if you can't sit like this, don't worry about it. You can just sit on the floor if you want to. But we are going to come back to the knees
in a moment, but here you might want to use some padding because we're going to come up and just be on our knees for a moment. So if you need to fold your mat or place something soft underneath your knees, you can do that. I'm just bringing my blanket back in. You can just join me here and just come up onto your blanket or soft spot like this. And just want to have an alignment where your hips are right over your knees, something like this, not too wide, but just in a nice straight line. We're going to move into camel pose, just a very modified version of this heart opener. Now my feet I'm on the tops of the feet behind me, but you may want to tuck your toes under like that if you want. Now with the pelvis, just to activate this section of the body, you want to just push the pelvis forwards, push, and you'll feel that activation there. We want to keep that sensation. Really, we're keeping the alignment of hip right over knee. We want that straight line. We're going to do a minor back bend. You take your hands, I like to make fists. I'm going to turn this way. Make fists and place the fists at the low back. Now you can do your fists, you can do your palms, you can even just do your thumbs, something like that. But you want to be able to add some pressure, some very light pressure. And the pressure is two directions. The first direction is down. Just when you had your hands on your hips like this earlier, you want to feel like you're pushing the pelvis down. You're just doing it with your hands behind you. So a downward sensation as you feel the torso lifting up. We're making space in that low back area, in that lumbar. All right, so that's an inhale when we do that, pushing pelvis down, lifting up. As we exhale, we push forward, so the hands or fists are pushing forward. That'll keep the hips over the knees right where they are. So let's do that together. We're going to inhale, push down, lift up, exhale, push forward, and then just gently lean back a little bit. Let's do that one more time if you're able. Inhale, feel your fists or palms push down as the torso lifts up. Exhale, gently push forward to support the low back as you lean back a little bit. Now you can certainly tip the head back a little bit more, maybe not too far. I know when I go back too far, it constricts my throat and I can't breathe. So it's okay to tip the chin down like I am now, which makes it easier to breathe and talk, but your heart is still open. We're still in this modified version of camel pose. Take 3 more breaths here. We're only going to do this once. Okay, this posture. So this is one of those back bends I was referring to. And after you finish that series of breaths, we're just going to do kind of a counter pose. Let's lift up out of that posture, lengthen the legs behind you, and then maybe even separate the knees a little bit. We're going to sit back and come down to child's pose. Maybe your arms crawl out in front of you, extending and lengthening through the back. And you can certainly rest your head on the ground, or maybe you have a block you want to bring in and just rest your forehead on the block. So while you're there, just take some nice full deep breaths. I think it's important, especially with heart openers, that sometimes it can certainly leave us in a vulnerable place. When we open our hearts and we feel a little empty, especially if we've given quite a bit or we just feel a little depleted, it can be a little challenging to open the heart. And so we want to rejuvenate the heart and give it a little space. Sometimes it wants to be quiet and still, and maybe wants to kind of go inside so it can re-energize. So something like a child's pose is perfect for this. Allowing yourself to just move inside into a little quiet space. And it's a nice heart protecting posture. Just as our hearts want to open and give and receive, sometimes it just needs a little quiet and softness. And so coming down to a child's pose is very appropriate. Still breathing in and out. You can even use the time again to come back to your personal intention of what you're needing. What does your heart need now that it has a little quiet moment of closure and quiet?
Maybe you can speak to your heart and give it what it needs. Let's take 3 more breaths. After your 3rd breath, we're just coming out of this pose very slowly, very carefully, lifting your body. You're using some props. Maybe set them to the side. And eventually just making your way back into downward facing dog. Maybe, actually first, let's just come back to hands and knees first. Here, and just do another series of cat and cow. Inhale to look upward, forward, a little arch in the back, which is, back bends are heart openers. So this is a little back bend and heart opener. Then exhale to round it all out. Just go back to that nice undulation of the spine, movement of the pelvis, slow motions. Finish this breath and take 2 more. Coming back to a neutral posture when you're ready, let's set up for downward facing dog. We're basically just going to go through that same series again, our flow and sensation. We're going to step the hands forward a little bit, spread out your fingers, grip the mat with your fingertips, lean into your hands, pressing palms into the mat. Feel the energy and strength in your arms and shoulders and chest. Tuck your toes. Inhale, take a mini cow pose by looking up or looking forward. Exhale into a mini cat pose, rounding the spine. Hold that posture so you can lift your knees, then your hips up into the air. Some adjustments with feet, maybe your hands into downward facing dog. Let's flow when you're ready. Inhale, extend your right leg up, reaching back. As you exhale, bend the right knee, bring it in underneath you, shifting body weight forward. If you do, make it up next to the hand. If you don't, remember you can always set that other knee onto the floor and step it forward. If you're here with the weight forward, remember you're shifting the weight back. Pull your hips back, rise to fingertips to extend spine. Anchor that back heel by pushing it back. Bring hands up to thigh, lifting up at 45 degrees, keeping these good lengthenings in the body. Squeezing inner thighs towards each other, belly pulls in. We're going to inhale, sweep the arms out and up, reaching into the sky. Big stretch up top. As you exhale, lunge a little, but bring your hands down to your hips. Okay, that same sensation, we're using the hands to push pelvis down. At the same time, feel the torso lift up. Bend the left knee a little bit more. Roll shoulders back. Tip the chest up a little bit. Inhale and just feel the chest expand. Fill up your heart space. Exhale, squeezing inner thighs towards each other. Inhale, sweep your arms into the air, look forward. Exhale, we'll pivot left heel to the floor, turn your body sideways. Arms come down to parallel warrior 2. We'll go right away into side angle by reaching right arm out over right thigh. Angled upper body, rotate the arms. Let's take a couple of breaths here for this hip opener and heart opener. Let's take a 3rd inhale, ready to move. And exhale to turn, that's it, towards the floor. Palms press into the mat, rise up onto tiptoes behind you. Lifting the hips so you can slide your right foot back, plank pose. Hold for a second. Bend knees, hips to sky, downward facing dog. When you're ready, inhale, extend left leg up into the air. Doesn't have to lift high, just nice and long and straight and strong. Exhale, bend left knee, bring it in underneath you towards your chest. Shifting body weight forward, left foot up near the fingertips. Shifting the weight back. Hips moving to the back edge of your mat. Rise to fingertips, extend the spine, hold. Anchor with that right heel, just push it back. Squeeze the inner thighs for more security. Bring hands up to your thigh, lifting up to 45 degrees. long spine. Belly pulls in, legs are strong. Inhale, sweep the arms out and up, nice and tall, perpendicular. Reach up with this inhale. As you exhale, lunge a little deeper, but bring your hands down to your hips. Push pelvis down, feel torso lift, shoulders roll back. Bend the right knee a little. Let's tip the chest up. Inhale to expand and fill up the lungs and heart. Exhale. Inhale, sweep the arms into the air again, lifting up a little bit as you exhale. Let's turn right heel to the floor, turning sideways, arms to parallel, warrior two. Side angle, reaching forward and out, angled upper body. Rotate your arms, side angle pose. Take 2 breaths. So we pick up the pace a little bit, but still mindfully moving. Let's take a 3rd breath in. We're going to exhale carefully, turn towards the floor, bend, bring hands to the mat, rise up onto tiptoes behind you. Again, pressing hands firmly into the ground, lifting hips, slide left foot back. There's plank pose. Hold for a breath or 2. Then you can bring knees to the ground, and then you can sit back into a seat, maybe hero pose or any other seat. Let's get ready for that next back bend. I like to call it a supported fish pose. There's a pose called fish, and it's a back bend. We usually don't use props, but this is a nice device to use to help support the pose. I'm going to show it to you before I teach it to you. This is what it can look like. I need to adjust my mat a little bit though. So basically, and I can do this, you can do this with blocks too. I usually do this with just a block, just sitting right here in the center. And basically, I'm just, my upper back just drapes over the block, or in this case, the bolster. And I want to be able to take my head down to the floor. Now, for me, this is kind of far. I can already feel that constriction in my throat because it's too big of a back bend there. So I'm going to take my blanket and put it behind me right there, so I have a little bit of a lift for my head. Okay, so again, I'm just kind of draping right across the shoulder blades, across the bolster, and my head can just, yeah, it's much better. I can drape it over the back, and it's resting there. And the arms can just be out to the side or at your heart or your belly. And so you're in this back bend, okay? So if you haven't done this already, go ahead and follow me here. Again, finding or using a rolled up towel or a blanket, a bolster, block even, making sure that object is right across the shoulder blades and you're draped over it basically so that your head perhaps can come down to the mat, or if you need a little extra lift like I do, maybe a blanket or something for that extra padding. I'm just gonna hold here for a few breaths. Now with the legs, you can do anything with the legs. The legs can remain straight. You can do a cobbler's pose, which I'm going to do at the moment, or even just bend your knees where your feet are flat on the mat. Whatever's comfortable at the moment for the feet and legs, you can always change that. Let's just let this be another heart opener, a very relaxing way to expand in the heart space. You might be able to take some slow, deep breaths here too. Once again, returning to your intention of what your heart needs today in this moment. What your heart has needed this past week. Call it in, just name it. Just name it. Imagine all that good energy is just rushing right in with just your simple request. Slow, steady breaths. Let's just take 3 more breaths here. So we're going to move into our closing series. When we get to the end of that series, it's short. When we get to the end of that series, you're certainly welcome to come back to this pose. If you feel incomplete here and would like to do a little bit more work in this space. So if you're lying over or draped over an object like I am, maybe the easiest way to get out of that is roll to one side. I'm going to roll to my right side and then press myself up to seated and just move. I'm just moving this prop out of the way just for the moment and then lie back down. And this time when we lie down, I'm just going to lie down with the knees bent and feet flat on the floor. And just hold here so everything can just kind of really melt and connect to the ground. From here, whenever you're ready, just going to hug the knees into chest. And any movement that might feel good here. You might rock left and right, making circles perhaps, or rocking forward and back. Just a little massage, perhaps for the back area, maybe the low back in particular, your hips. And then choosing a hip opener, many that you can choose from. You might choose this one, I just call it like a frog pose, where you're just taking the legs out to the side like this, just a little stretch for the inner thighs. From here, you might take this to happy baby pose. You can do any one of these or all of these, doesn't matter, you can decide. This is happy baby pose, you might hold here. And another one you might do is reclining cobbler's pose. You can bring the soles of the feet together, you can hold them in midair like this, or even set the feet onto the floor. So maybe choose a couple of those or one of those that you like. That's most effective for you, just to get a little hip release and some low back release. Wherever you are, take 3 more breaths. Let's bring the knees together. And as you're able, extend your legs up into the air. We're just going to take this as our inverted pose. You just hold on to the legs if you need to. You can always put a slight bend in the knees. This might take the place of something like shoulder stand, or even something like headstand or handstand even. Those are certainly dynamic poses. But you can do inverted or upside down postures easily like this. Just lying on your back and just extend the legs in the air. And this certainly does take some energy in the legs and energy in your core to do so. And after a few moments, feel free to add movement to this. Maybe you want to do a little bicycle pedaling, is to move the joints. You know, move the knees, your hips, even circle the feet. Maybe you just want to get some movement in your feet and ankles, wiggle your toes. And then just any kind of movement that you would like to create with the legs here that are in the air. And just 3 more breaths. And maybe return to the extended legs into the air for one more second. And then go ahead and bend your knees to set your feet back down onto the floor, just for a moment so everything can relax and settle once again. Take a breath or two. And then we'll bring knees to chest. Let's get ready for a twist. Bring the knees in towards your heart space and take the knees over to the left side. Extend your right arm to the right side just to create a twist in the spine. Taking a few breaths here. And perhaps 3 more breaths. When you're ready, just return to center. Pause in center for a moment so everything can come back to neutral. And then taking knees down to the other side. Let's take another opportunity to not only remind ourselves of our personal intention, but also remember the foundation of our practice. Soft flow, the foundation on which I build this class. And that's that ethical principle in yoga called Ahimsa. Ahimsa, nonviolence. Being loving and kind and gentle first to yourself. Take 3 more breaths. When you feel complete, just bring your knees back up to center. Again, a pause at center so everything can realign. And then just set your feet onto the floor. Pause here for a moment. Take a couple of breaths and just decide where you would like to go next, whether it's another movement or posture to help complete your moving practice, or maybe you're ready to move right into Shavasana or any other nurturing pose. I'm going to throw out a couple of other options for Shavasana. You certainly can take the classic posture, just lying flat, legs long, down out in front of you with your arms down by your side. You can certainly lie here like this, or use props like a blanket for any other support for your back, your head, your neck, your knees. I'm going to give you some other options. You can always come back to that supported fish pose, that back bend, draping your body over the bolster if you'd like, if that felt good for you. Maybe rather elevate your legs and feet, maybe placing some blocks or a stack of pillows underneath your legs. Some other options. Maybe you want to continue to give comfort and ease to the heart rather than have the heart opened at this time. Maybe you'd rather lie on your side, more in a nurturing pose like this. Or you can even come back to a supported child's pose. Here you might tuck a big pillow or the bolster between your knees here and underneath your chest, and just lying something like this. So wherever you decide to be, settle into that space, take some breaths, feel comfortable. Stay where you are, no need to move, just notice your breath. Just notice your breath. Come back to self. Take care of self. Once again, just notice your breath. Bring awareness to your breathing. And as you come back to this awareness, take 5 very slow breaths, intentional breathing. As you restore energy to your body, feel this breath move through your entire body. And as you're approaching your 5th breath, prepare your body to move. Very slow motions, gentle movements in your body. Feeling that movement circulate through you. And then moving in slow motion, slow as can be, start to rise into a seated posture. Actually, just roll onto your side first. Roll onto your side. And take one more opportunity there just to be aware of your heart, filling this heart space with what it needs, what it desires. And from here, still moving slowly, guide your way up to seated. Feel the lengthening in your spine. Maybe your arms and hands are just resting down by your side or in your lap for a moment. Then go ahead and bring hands to heart center. Whatever it is that you've needed and maybe have gathered now and starting to refill your heart, just bring that to mind. And knowing that you've filled your heart with what it needs, send that heart space and energy throughout your body. Take one more full breath in and a complete breath out. Hold in stillness for a few more seconds. And as we complete our practice together, we bow, saying, Namaste.